Good evening, everybody. I'm Meteorologist Nick Stewart. Certainly a bit of an interesting weather pattern on the way coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks. A big time pattern flip for much of the country. We're talking about a big change in temperatures, potentially some more snow chances as well. You've probably already seen it all over social media. Things are getting a little out of control. But rightfully so, it is a relatively speaking high confidence forecast. Let's start off with the official products from the Climate Prediction Center. Here is your 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, and this is your prolonged outlook, right? So this is your week 2 forecast, and a huge bullseye there of below normal temperatures across basically the eastern about 2/3 of the United States. So that is a pretty high confidence forecast. In fact, the probabilities are higher at week 2 than they are in that 6 to 10 day week 1 forecast. So just want to put out there first that what I'm talking about is kind of related to this. There is some official forecast to play around with. This is relatively new as of today. And this is actually particularly interesting to me. These are your chances for heavy snowfall. This again comes from the Climate Prediction Center. And you can see the risk of heavy snowfall extends from like northeast Texas through northern Louisiana, all the way up through the mid-Atlantic, and of course a lot of Great Lakes action as well. This right here is one of the more unusual things I have ever seen in a Climate Prediction Center forecast. You can see the dates on the graphic. If you're looking at a small screen, a little hard to see, but you're looking at the slight risk of heavier snowfall. That's January 7th through the 11th, roughly, kind of in that window. And there will be another chance for snow before we get to that point. Just want to make sure I'm making that clear as well. We got a few people popping in the chat. Hope everybody's having a wonderful evening. Thanks for tuning in. Let's talk about the short-ish term, right? So this is the next about 7 days. What's going to be happening? Right now, pretty comfortable in the central part of the country. Things are relatively calm, relatively quiet, somewhat mild as well. A lot of dense fog. When you have fog extending all the way up to like the Canadian border, you got moisture that's advecting north, and you also have pretty warm temperatures, right? Relatively speaking. That will come to a close as we head towards the weekend. Also of note that all that moisture that's pushing on northward to the central U.S. with that fog, that will be utilized for our upcoming storm systems. What you're looking at here is what we call the 500 millibar map, right? In very general terms, blue is cooler, red is warmer. That's a very simplistic way to look at this graphic here. But what you can see is that as we head towards late this week, this starts off Friday and loops until Monday of next week. You see kind of some above normal or anomalously kind of, we'll call it warmer-ish conditions across the central U.S., and then a big push of some blue comes in for the northwest. That right there is our next storm system. We'll pause it there. Here we are at hour 168. This is 12Z next Monday. So this is Monday of next week, basically right at midnight, okay? Local time in the central U.S. That's a big dip there in the jet stream, big trough in the jet stream. That is going to be our first weather maker. We got some more people popping to chat. LWX24, hello, thanks for popping in. Life in Tornado Alley, we got Toofus here, welcome to the party, and Dylan, thanks for tuning in over on Facebook. This is our first entry, this cold air here, and this will set the tone as we go through the month of January, all right? So then we continue, let me go back there. We continue after Monday, that initial storm system, and then we're going to extend this pattern all the way into basically Friday of next week. So now we're talking about, a 10 to 14-ish day temperature pattern here. This is what we call an ensemble approach too. We're not looking at just one deterministic model or one model's opinion as to what might happen. This is an average of 50 different model runs averaged together, and what you see there is a pretty high confidence forecast of northwest flow, strong northwest flow coming in. That will lead to some cooler conditions across the eastern U.S., potentially significantly colder conditions, and the potential for some more wintry weather as well. Douglas joining in on YouTube from Warren County, North Carolina. Hope you're having a great evening. not too far from me down here in the sunshine state of Florida. We'll stop it here. This is 6Z Saturday, or basically midnight Saturday. So Friday night into Saturday of next week. So a long way off. I want to stress that we're a long way off, but that is a relatively high confidence forecast of a big area of cold air across the eastern U.S. That's a big potential problem for cold air, and again, some potential snow as well. Let's continue. We'll start off again with that first storm system that's coming up this upcoming weekend. So roughly the January 5th through the 7th time frame. That initial system comes in from the northwest, southern, southwestern Canada, kind of like a clipper system. It phases or kind of combines energy with another system that comes in from the southwest, and you see that big area of green and blues that are across the Ohio River Valley. That is your 24-hour precipitation of upwards of a half an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch. And again, we are quite a ways away from the storm system still, and so that area will narrow. It'll get narrower, and the area of precipitation, the actual values, will likely increase once the confidence increases. What this tells me now, as again, we're about 6-ish days away from this particular storm system, is that the probability of a storm system, relatively high. However, there's a lot of unknowns as to how far north or south that extent of the snow is. Are we talking just snow and rain? Are we talking maybe some wintry, maybe freezing rain as well? And the other factors of the system with the strong trough in the jet stream, potential severe weather in the deep south as well. All right. So again, we'll go back to the official forecast from, this is the Weather Prediction Center. Again, just to show that there's kind of some backing to what I'm talking about, right? Here's your forecast probabilities for at least what we call 1/4 of an inch of frozen or wintry precipitation. That's about 3-ish inches of snow if you do 10 to 1. General idea. What you're kind of looking at here is kind of the likelihood of some heavier, more impactful snowfall. Right now, the area, very broad. Notice that 10 to 30% chance range. It's pretty broad. I mean, extending from northern Arkansas to like central Wisconsin. As we get closer to the storm system, again, we're talking Saturday, Sunday, this upcoming weekend, that area will likely get a little bit shorter. It'll shrink some. That's because the confidence begins to increase where the heaviest of that snow will be. And so again, what we're looking at here is an increasing probability of likely some problems in the short term in terms of some wintry weather. Dylan says, Migo, snowstorm in Iowa. Yeah, we'll see. Right now, it looks like there will be a storm system in the central U.S. The probability of that is starting to increase. Who will see the worst of that snow, though, is still really TBD at this point in time, all right? Here is, again, the official forecast from the Weather Prediction Center. This is your accumulation, your 7-day accumulation of precipitation. And again, I want to note there is that there's a pretty good signature there of some heavier precipitation, those purples there of at least 1.5 inches or more of precipitation. At least some of that, if not a lot of that, will be frozen in nature. And so that's when we start talking about at least maybe 6 or more inches of snow in some portion of the country. We're watching it very closely. So now again, let's jump to the probabilities. When you're talking, a forecast 6 to 8 days out, we don't want to talk about 6 inches of snow at this location at this time. We're too far away for that. What we can talk about, though, are the probabilities of something happening. And when you look at the potential of at least 3 inches of snow, this is valid centered on Sunday. So there's going to be more snow chances northwest of this area here for like the Dakotas, Nebraska, up towards Montana, Wyoming. I'm leaving that out for now because I'm focusing kind of where the stronger of the storm system will likely reside. Here again is basically your chance of snowfall of at least 3 inches between 6 a.m. Sunday morning and 6 a.m. Monday morning. And when you're looking at there, our probabilities approaching 30 to 40%, southeast Iowa into central portion of Illinois. And so what you're looking at again is the increasing likelihood that we're going to be dealing with some potential wintry weather with this first storm system. Okay, again, we're talking 2. If we widen that scope out, you can see that snowfall probability extends all the way towards the northeast United States as well. So right on cue, we have Christian asking about northern New Jersey. Northern New Jersey, Very difficult to get snow. Obviously, you have warm waters of the Atlantic. It's always really tricky, relatively warm, right? It's above freezing. It's always tricky to get northeast snow. And so those probabilities right now, it's going to be a little bit unknown. But the chance is certainly there as we head towards late this upcoming weekend with a potential stronger storm system potentially residing around late next week. All right, so there's some time. We're tracking two different systems with that. But again, that shows you again the likelihood of at least 3 inches of snow. This is 6 a.m. up this upcoming Sunday through 6 a.m. next Monday, that 24-hour window. And again, you're looking at probabilities around 30 to 40%. Now, let's talk about the surface temperatures, because once that first snow system begins to depart early next week, it tugs in some cold air. What's going to be interesting with this system is that there's not a lot of snowpack, right? We aren't dealing with a lot of snow across the country right now. Therefore, the snowpack tends to modify the air. It tends to make the air colder coming in from the northwest. When you don't have a thick snowpack, it makes that intrusion of cold air more difficult. It's not impossible, but it makes it more difficult. And so I do think at this stage, the models are being a little bit overzealous with just how cold things will get because we don't have a snowpack. We will get a snowpack, at least a first layer of that this upcoming weekend. And that is when things really begin to build on itself, right? So here we are. We're talking about the 2-meter temperature, so roughly surface temperature anomalies. This is this upcoming Saturday, so January 4th. And you're looking already below normal temperatures, starting to creep in from North Dakota, and that extends all the way down to the southeast United States, right? A big pull there of some cold air. Here we are, Wednesday of next week. So again, what we're looking at here, it's an ensemble approach, right? We're talking about basically 51 members of a model. It's run over and over and over and over again, and then it's averaged out. That allows you to get higher confidence. You're going to miss out on the extremes. Like, you're going to miss out on, like, if it is truly going to be this cold at this range. So again, we're talking about surface temperatures of maybe 10 to 15 degrees below normal. Again, this is Wednesday of next week. We're missing out on the extremes. So if it is going to be on the colder side of the forecast, which is looking likely, it will likely be colder than this. But this gives us an idea of that we're trending towards that colder solution, right? So again, this is Wednesday of next week. You can kind of see, in fact, the influence of that snowpack. Notice Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, that potential area of heavier snowfall this weekend, also dealing with that thicker area of colder air. Let's push it forward. We'll extend it farther. We are way out at this time frame, okay? We're now at hour 300. This is 2 Sundays from now. It's a long way away. This is January 12th. But again, what you're looking at is signals. You're looking for pattern recognition at this range. And what you can see are pretty high chances for below normal temperatures for about the eastern half of the United States. And look at even Florida. I mean, we're talking temperatures in Florida 10 to 15 degrees below normal. That's a huge shot of cold air. And again, when you're looking at a blended ensemble approach, when we look at the weather models at this range, so we're way out there, right? You're missing out on the extremes. So if we are going to be on the colder side of things, which looks likely, this will likely be too conservative as to how cold things will actually get. But it shows you the potential, right? Big shot of cold air. I also want to talk real quick about the other problems that we're looking at here. I actually meant to delete that one there. We'll get to that in a second. Actually, let me go ahead. Let me just break something real quick. Give me 1 second. I'm going to just get rid of this. Boop. Boop. Let me go back to... All right. Sorry about that. So what we're looking at here is for Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Okay, this is a temperature outlook, like a 14-day temperature outlook for Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This extends outward. And what I want to show with this is the range in the possibilities, right? So again, this is the European ensemble, the same model that's run 50 different times, and it's averaged out. And so what you get here is an average forecast. So that potential low temperature late next week, right? We're talking January 9th, 10th, 11th with sub-zero low temperatures. That's air temperatures. And so, but the ranges on those low temperatures in that period extend from like plus 15, so 15 degrees above zero, to like 15 to 20 degrees below zero. It's a huge range at this range of potential outcomes. And so nothing is set in stone yet, but what you can see is that the likelihood of below normal temperatures is pretty high. We call this a bar and whisker graphic here. So a good concept of looking at temperatures this range is kind of this box feature. This is your 25th and 75th chance of something happening. And when this range is sitting this close to, if not below zero, that's a pretty strong signal of some really cold air coming late next week. So that's just, again, one potential, thing that we're looking at. We're looking at the other model that was looking at the Euro. Now we're looking at the American, the GFS, actually the GEFS. This is, again, a model approach. It's run a bunch of different times. It gives you an average. The blue line here, that shows you what's known as the deterministic run. So that is if a lot of the hype pages and Facebook pages, they'll show the one scary picture of like, sub, minus 10 degree temperatures or something like that out at like hour 300. That's that blue line. Notice that is near the bottom of the other potential outcomes here. So it's an outlier, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. It's outside of that 75th to 25th% chance range. It's at the bottom of it, but it's not impossible. So that's one thing I want to stress is when you look at things on Facebook and all the scary, Twitter pages and all that at this range, note that a lot of times they're showing you the GFS. That is like the deterministic run that shows, in this case, near the worst case scenario. When you look at the GEFS, it's the ensemble where you average everything out together. Notice that's that middle black line right there. So you're talking, again, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. This is a way out there forecast. But the ensemble approach, the averaged approach, is like a low temperature of like 5 degrees above zero. Where the deterministic run, you're talking a low temperature there of like minus 3-ish degrees below zero. So again, just to show that's how we're looking at things. Notice how on the far left of the graph, the lines are really tight together. But now that we're out like 2 weeks, the lines extend way out apart. There's still a big range of solutions. However, the likelihood of being cooler than normal is looking pretty likely. So we're likely going to be favoring the bottom half of these lines. I hope that makes sense. I'm hoping I'm making sense of that. But again, I'm just trying to kind of talk through a lot of things you might be seeing. Let's talk about the analog approach. I broke this again. My camera's a little too far over. Give me a second. Let me fix this. Where did this go? Let me just shove me up here. All right. So this is the analogs, right? So what we're looking at here is we take what the GEFS looks like, what the weather model looks like, and then we talk about what history tells us is likely. And so I really like to look at analogs. I really like to look at the range of possibilities based on history. And bottom line, the main takeaway here is it's going to get cold. You're looking at here, this is like your average temperature compared to normal. That far right picture there, that's days 9 through 11. So that's January 7th through the 11th. And you're talking like a huge area there of like dark blue. We're pushing 10 to 15 degrees below normal. So again, that's pretty high confidence in a big change in some cold temperatures. Here is your percent chance of being below normal, and the scale is basically maxed. So that's about as high confidence of a forecast that you are gonna get going forward. So I hope I talked things through. I hope this was entertaining. I hope you learned something and took something away with this. If you do have any questions about the forecast, please let me know. Leave a comment. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have. Bottom line is that the forecast is going to get interesting. Again, here is the official forecast from the Climate Prediction Center. This is days 8 through 14, so January 7th through the 13th. And there's just a huge area there of below normal probabilities. Like, it's high confidence in below normal temperatures across a huge area. So that just kind of goes to show what we're talking about. So again, a very interesting weather pattern going forward. The confidence is very high that we're talking about below normal temperatures. The chances are relatively high that we're talking about a wintry system this upcoming weekend, and then the cold air really begins to come in behind it. So a lot to talk about. There's a lot to diagnose with that. A lot of many factors that go on with that. Douglas asking, talking temps, what about the wind? Okay, let's play with that. Let me pull up Chrome here, and let's go ahead and show that. So let me go. We'll just kind of do this in real time. So we're going to take a look at the weather models here in real time. Nicole asking, can we fast forward through January? Wouldn't that be nice? All right, let's look at, so again, what we're going to be looking at here, this is the deterministic approach. So this is just like one weather model's approach. So what you're going to look at here is with this upcoming system, this upcoming weekend, you got a big area here of pretty cold temperatures. I think, let me look at Corn Belt here with the system that comes through. Here we go. So here we got your system that comes on through. That's, again, this system this upcoming weekend. So we got Sunday, Monday. We're talking some pretty good blast of some pretty strong winds as its storm system develops. Right now, it doesn't look like this will be a particularly powerful low pressure center. So the winds, they could be relatively strong, but we're not talking about anything too crazy, I don't think, with this upcoming weekend system. Now, when you get that Arctic front that comes through, probably around that Wednesday-ish time frame of next week, you're going to have another shot of some really cold air and pretty strong winds that will come with that as well. So if we look at the wind chill values here, so what you're going to see is this weekend, yeah, we're going to have some on the backside of the system, some kind of, it doesn't take a lot of strong winds to cause, below zero wind chills. But then here comes that Arctic front around the middle part of next week. And if we get that snowpack on the ground and we get that Arctic front that comes through that pulls in that colder air with those stronger winds, that's when you're going to start talking about wind chills potentially in like sub 20 below, maybe sub 30 below range. We're a little too far out to really talk about specifics, but since you asked, that's kind of what we're looking at. The worst of like that wind and cold air combination will likely be around the middle part of next week for round one. What comes after that is kind of TBD. Any airplane travel restrictions that you might think might happen in Minnesota on Sunday? Sunday, likely not. I think Sunday things should probably be okay up in Minneapolis. Let me just verify. I think the worst of that system should be, again, this is the deterministic approach, so just one model's approach. Don't look at this exactly for where the heaviest of the snow will be and all that. But I wanted to show you, like, timeline-wise, Twin Cities up this way. And the storm system is forecast to be pretty far south. This could still shift northwest, but the trends right now are looking pretty likely that the worst of that wintry weather will be south of Minnesota this upcoming Sunday. Much of difference between the 10 meter and the ground level? Not really. Winds are measured at 10 meter. Like when you talk about winds, typically we're talking about 10 meter wind. That's generally what we're referring to when we talk about wind gust. Ground level, it's not that. You're going to have a little bit stronger winds the higher up you go, but that difference between like 10 meter and surface, it's not that significant. 63 confirmed tornado reports. What day are we referring to? Not entirely sure what day you're referring to there. That's a lot of tornadoes, though. Whatever day that was. Any other questions you guys may have? Happy to answer anything you guys have. Otherwise, I can real quickly kind of just recap and real quick kind of what we talked about. Again, below normal temperatures looking likely as we go through December. So big shot of cold air there. This is, I think, just a relatively funny graphic. This is your risk of heavy snowfall, January 7th through the 13th. And you can see it's a pretty big area there of a risk of heavy snowfall from like northeast Texas through like northern Mississippi, Alabama. I wouldn't count on this completely verifying, but just note that there is some potential that that second storm system could be problematic around the mid to late part of next week. So I think it's just a relatively funny to look at. Southeast for wind chill, sure. Let's go back to Chrome. Did someone just come into my house? That'd be how well you hear Stormy there. Um, hmm. Somebody just came to my front door and then ran away. Okay. Sorry about that. Let me go back to this. Stormy, he's defender of the house. He scared him away. Good job, Stormy. Scare him away. Unless it's the delivery person, then don't scare him away. They're being nice. They're helping us do things. All right. Where am I at here? Wind chill temperature. Let's go southeast U.S. So again, what I want to stress as we look at this is that this is a deterministic approach. So it's just one weather model. We're not blending things here. It's not averaged out. This is just one weather model's take. So I just want to stress that first, that this might not be completely accurate. But when you get that strong cold front that comes through, the first one comes through on Monday, Tuesday of next week. We could be talking about, wind chills in like the mid-teens. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility at this range. And then we got that second kind of shot of cold air late to next week. This model actually is about the same, mid-teens to 20s and all that. So not particularly crazy, which is good. This could again change. This is very much subject to change. Don't treat this like fact yet at this point, all right? Could that mean more severe weather? Great question. In fact, I had a slide for this, but then I didn't actually talk about it. So let me go and show what I was going to show. So again, this is the analog approach. And what I want to show you here is the chances of severe weather using analog. So based on the forecast weather pattern early next week, here's what history tells us is potential. And down there, what you're looking at there is the probability of at least one severe weather report in that day 6 through 8 time frames. That's January 4th through the 7th. And you can see it's a non-zero chance, right? I think these probabilities will slowly start to increase and uptick just a little bit with time. Anytime you have a strong trough like this time of year, and there's going to be warm air in place south of it, there's going to be moisture in place as well, the likelihood of severe weather, I think, is relatively high. Whether we're going to be talking about a big outbreak or just a squall line, that remains to be seen. But I think there's going to be at least some potential for some strong storms. Let me real quick look at something else here. I've not looked at this yet, so I actually don't know. Well, there it is. This is a great product that's developed by our friends over at NIU. Professor Gensini puts this together, part of his products. And what you're looking at here is like the week 3. So this is January 13th to the 20th. This is kind of way out there. He does like way extended forecast. And what you're looking at here is kind of like a general idea where you can kind of get an idea of where we might be talking about maybe some stronger storms. And based on that, it does kind of show, you got the big trough coming in across the central and eastern U.S. You're going to pull in some Gulf of Mexico moisture. You're going to have that strong west-northwest wind, your wind shear. You're going to have that potential for severe weather there. And so I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that we will be talking about that. Because again, this is roughly that upper air pattern around that time. Notice that big dip in the jet stream, big trough there. And so I think when you're talking about that amount of upper level support, I do think there is that potential that we could be talking about some severe weather there. So great question. I'm glad you asked that because I meant to include that, and I don't know what I did with that slide. That slide is gone. And then also of note, let me pull up this one too. This is the week 1. So this is, we're talking about December 30th, so today, through January 5th. So as that initial storm system through Monday of next week is pushing through the central U.S., there's another look at your probabilities. It's not really probability as much with this product, but it kind of starts to highlight maybe some areas that we might be watching for some stronger storms. And again, that's right kind of what we're talking about again, kind of the base, that trough kind of ejecting right here, pulls in some more moisture. You're going to have that potential severe weather environment there. I don't think it looks particularly slam dunk significant at this point, but there is some potential there. What app or website are you using to show that? Pivotal Weather. So Pivotal Weather is great for looking at weather models. But there are a lot of other great resources out there for looking at analogs and things. This particular website for the severe weather product, if you look up atlas.niu.edu, that's Professor Gensini's NIU Department of Geography and Atmospheric Sciences. He's got a great product here with all sorts of cool severe weather products. I think it's a little bit more useful in like springtime, but it does kind of hint at severe weather in the wintertime as well. Severe weather season for spring 2025. Good question. If you are interested, I did put together a video on the potential for severe weather in the winter time. And, it's kind of maybe coming together. I keep hearing something. I don't know what that is. Like somebody's like knocking on my door or something, but I'm not getting any notification. I don't know what's going on. Sorry about that. Let me pull up this real quick. Make sure it's muted, and then let me talk about. So this was a video I put together not too long ago. It is on the channel if you're interested. But I talk about the potential for severe weather in the winter season based on kind of my own custom analog. And what I was kind of hinting at here is some of those severe weather chances here across the southeast U.S. being a bit higher than normal. We haven't really seen this too much. We had these initial bursts of weather this past weekend kind of in this area. We actually did have the California tornadoes as well kind of showing up around San Francisco. I'm kind of still waiting to see how the southeast wakens up here. We'll kind of see about that. All right, any other questions? Otherwise, I think we'll wrap this up. I've been rambling on for over half an hour now. But hopefully you found some of this interesting. Again, I like talking about severe weather. I like talking about winter weather. I love breaking down these complex forecasts because there's just so much junk out there. There's so much good, too, but there's so much junk out there. And I think people tend to gravitate towards the junk because it looks exciting and scary, and everyone wants the worst case scenarios for some reason, but then they blame the people that try to be realist for why I forecast it. Anyway, that's a soapbox topic for another day. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this. If you're new to my Facebook page, if you're watching on Facebook or over on YouTube, feel free to like this video if you liked it. It does help me out, helps other people find these types of videos as well. Kind of helps encourage me to keep doing these as well, to know that people care about this kind of stuff. Feel free to like on Facebook or subscribe over on YouTube as well. If you want to follow me on some of my other social channels, they're all in the video description down below on the YouTube side of things. Blue Sky, the Tweeter, all that kind of stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your evening. Stay safe, stay warm,